Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you guys being here. Keith, what are we going to talk about today?
Today we're going to talk about targeting and alignment. So specifically, where should you be looking? Where should you aim? Where should you be throwing the ball? A lot of people look at arrows or some spot, and that's really all they look at. They don't pay attention. They do trial and error when it comes to their feet. You know, they're like, oh, I'm going to throw over 15. I'm going to stand somewhere around 20, and I'm going to just see where it goes. And if it doesn't go where I want, then I'm going to start adjusting things. We're going to break this down a little more mathematically and scientifically. We're going to be talking about not just a three-point targeting system.
But hopefully in a way that makes sense to everybody.
That is our goal. That's the whole goal of the channel. Break it down in a way that makes sense. I definitely don't want to break it down in a way that you don't understand. So with a 5-point targeting system, we're going to be looking at where do you start? Where does your slide foot go? Where does the ball cross the foul line? Where does it cross the arrows? And where does it cross, or where's your break point down lane? Now, you may not look at the arrows, and that's fine. We'll talk about how you can adjust things if you aren't an arrow looker, but we start with that to get our general math in place. So, with that said, before we dive into the specifics, hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you haven't already, and let's get into it.
Let's do this.
Here we go. All right, we're gonna come down here. We're gonna put.
Hey, before you do this, right, you gotta ask permission. Okay, you can't just walk into your local center and just do whatever you want. We've asked. They know we're doing this, so please ask permission at your local facility before you just go and start sticking tape all over the place.
Yeah.
Where are we going?
We're putting tape on the lane to kind of give you an idea of what we're going to be looking at when it comes to targeting. So we like to break the lane into 4 segments. So the lane is, before we put that down, the lane is 60 feet. So let's break this into 4 15-foot sections. We know that the arrows are 15 feet from the foul line. We know that halfway down the lane is another 15 feet or 30 feet down. We know that these tracers, you can see there's one set of tracers and a second set of tracers. That second set of tracers is about 45 feet, which is the third 15-foot section. And then the last 15 feet goes into the pins. So we're going to start with that break point around 45, which is at these tracers. Now that tracer is at 10. This one's at 15. These give you good ideas as you're angling, give you aim points. Not all bowling centers have tracers. So if they don't, you may have to look for other things. But Troy is going to be setting this piece of tape down at around, that's
So
8.
here's the 7 board right here.
7 board is just inside that piece of tape. All right, so he's actually got it setting on between 8 and 9. So we're going to be aiming just like right on the right edge of that is 7.
Would you prefer it right over?
No,
7?
that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, 7 board. So we're going to aiming for 7 board, right on the right edge of that piece of tape. All right, so that's what we're looking for is 7 board. All right, why are we using 45 feet? Partially because of math, and partially because most house shots are 41, 42 feet or so.
Yep.
And the ball is going to push an extra couple of feet as it starts to exit the pattern before it really starts to turn. So 45-foot break point is pretty typical. That's going to change based on the length of the pattern.
Absolutely.
If it's a 50-foot pattern, it's not going to break at 45 feet. And if it's a 34-foot pattern, it's going to break way early. You got to make adjustments from there. But this gives us a starting point, and it's really good to start and practice with a house shot typical line. So breaking into these 4 segments is the easiest way to start. So let's back this up here. Now we've got that marked at 7, and I picked 7 arbitrarily, and I'll talk about that math here in a minute. Now we're going to pick the spot at 15, which is the 3rd arrow. So he's going to go just to the outside of that. So we are aiming just to the right of that piece of tape, right over the 3rd arrow.
There's oil there, so it's not sticking very well.
It's not sticking very good. All right, so if we are going 15 at the arrows at 15 feet, and then we are going all the way out to a break point at 7 at 45 feet. That is from 15 boards to 7 board. That's an 8 board difference from left to right. And it goes from 15 feet to 45 feet, which is a 30 feet distance. So you're going 8 boards over 30 feet. Now we know that from the arrows to the foul line, it's 15 feet. It is half the distance, so we're also going to take half that width of that 8 board distance. We're going to take half that, which is 4. So now we're going to take 15, and we're going to go 4 more boards, which is 19, and that is going to be where Troy is going to set up this next piece of tape. So 20 is the middle dot, so put it right on the middle dot, and we're going to aim right to the right side of that spot. So 19 is where we want the ball to actually pass. It's just right of that. So the next one is, how far to the right of my foot is the laydown spot? Now, they typically say that for most bowlers, it's somewhere around like 5 to 8 boards, somewhere in that range, depending on the bowler. It also depends on where you're measuring from. Some people will measure from the center of their toe. Some will measure from the far inside portion of their foot. It doesn't matter what you use, but just be consistent with whatever you use. So we're gonna come up here, and I'm gonna start without throwing a ball and just kind of stand here, pretend like I'm in my release. If I'm coming somewhere around here, 19, now I actually throw the ball from up here. I don't bend over that much, but if I'm somewhere in that range, my foot is sliding, and I like to use the middle of my toe. So give me that tape for a second. So if I use my toe as a spot, I like to use the center of my toe. I've got that on right here. That's 20, 25, that's 26. So 26 to 19, that's 7 boards. I actually think that I'm inside. I get actually kind of over my leg. I'm up here. So I'm probably a little bit closer to this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to throw the ball and slide somewhere around here. And we're gonna see if that ball crosses somewhere around that 19 board. All right, so I'm gonna try to slide somewhere around 25 and see what happens. So that's point 4. Point 5 is your starting point. You have to know how much you drift. Now I like to drift left and then back to the right. So I need to know what is my end drift. It doesn't matter if I drift 15 boards to the left and 14 boards back to the right, the net is still only 1 board. So that's what I'm looking for, is a 1 board drift in the end. So we need to see what it is. I think I'm about 2 boards, but we're gonna test it here. So if I said I want to slide about 25, the first thing we're going to do, Troy's going to come up here and he's going to see on the foul line, hold that to the foul line, and we're going to see where my toe actually ends. I'm going to start on 23, and if I end up sliding around 25, I know I've got a 2 board drift. If I'm off of that, I'll know what my drift is. I'm less concerned about where the ball goes right now and more about where my foot is. All right, so I'm looking down. Wow, that's a great shot. Too bad you didn't see it. So I'm looking down, and I don't know where the ball crossed. We'll take a look at the film here, but I am crossing right at 25, all right? Sliding right, this is 20, this is 25. My tape is right on 25. I'm a bit behind the line, that's okay. I never foul, that's great. But I know, okay, if my set down is about 19 and I go to 25, I know I started at 23, I got a 2 board drift. So what are my 5 points? Knowing all of this, my 5 points are, I'm gonna start by thinking about where am I crossing at the break point, okay? Am I crossing at the break point down lane? That's number 1. If I want to cross at 7, where do I need to cross at the arrows? If I want to cross at 15, okay, I know that that's that 8 board difference. I'm going to do the math in my head and know that that gets me to 19 at the foul line. If that gets me to 19 at the foul line, if I know that I'm about 6 boards to the right of that, I need to slide at 25, and I have a 2 board drift, that brings me back to 23. So if I reverse all that, start at 23, slide at 25, set down 6 boards right of that at 19, that should cross at 15. That 4 board of movement in the first 15 feet means 8 board of movement in the next 30, should get me down to 7. So that's what we're gonna be going for. So we're gonna take another shot here. I'm gonna stand on 23, and I am going to try, slide at 25, throw it over 19, throw it over 15 at the arrows, hopefully cross somewhere around 7 down lane. All right, here we go. Now I got that right and right. That was a great shot. I got that more around 13, 14, and I see my foot, if I look down, I'm actually at 24. So the fact that I was at 24 means I probably set it down a little bit farther right. I might have set it at 18. If I set it at 18 and I crossed at 14, so that was about 4 boards. So another 8 boards took me down to about 6, and that's probably close to about what I got out to. All right, here we go. So I'm gonna line up at 23, hopefully slide somewhere around 25. I'm gonna aim for 15, so just right of that piece of tape. Troy's got the other camera down there looking at the break point. See if we can't get it somewhere around 7. All right, so I actually slid at 23. So I started at 23, slid at 23. So that part was a little bit off. I don't know where I crossed. I crossed 15 perfectly. Troy says I hit 8 down lane. Now that's because I wasn't at 25. So I probably set it down a little bit right of 19. If I would have set it down at 19, crossed 15, I probably would have hit 7, and I might have hit the pocket better. But because I was a little bit right on my slide, I still hit 15, ended up hitting 8 down lane, caused me to leave a 4-pin. So that's what we're talking about. Even that little bit of a difference, the inconsistency on where I finished caused that difference. So a lot of people will say, I hit exactly what I was looking at. Why didn't that strike? Well, it didn't strike because I was actually off by about 2 boards. I didn't know I was off 2 boards until I actually stopped and looked down, hit my mark exactly. 1 board difference down there. 2 boards here, 1 board down lane made a difference of leaving a 4-pin instead of striking. So that's the first thing you have to consider. The next thing is, if I had thrown right where I wanted to, and I crossed 15, and I hit 7, and I left a 4-pin, then that tells me, okay, I need to adjust. Now, a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, I'm just gonna move 2 boards to the left. Okay, well that's great. What is that 2 boards to the left gonna do? Are you making a 2 and 1 or 2 and 0? What kind of move are you making? If I am standing here at, say I slid at 25, threw over 19, so I went 19, 15, 7, and it went high. If I move 2 boards left, that means the laydown is 2 boards left, so now my laydown is 21. If I do a 2 and 0 move, okay, so now I'm going from 21 to 15. That's a 6-board move over 15 feet. That means it's gonna move 12 more boards down lane. So we're gonna go from 15 to 3. So if I go 2 and 0, I'm no longer hitting 7, I'm hitting 3 down lane. That might be what I need, but I might be getting out too early in that case. And that's why you hear people talking about doing a 2 and 1. If I do a 2 and 1 move now I'm going to 21, but instead of 15, I'm going to 16. So 21 to 16 is 5 boards. Give me 10 more boards down lane, it gets me to 6. So it gets me a little bit more angle farther down there, a little bit wider to 6 instead of 7, and maybe I will actually carry and not leave a 4-pin, I'll come up perfectly. Sometimes you gotta make a big zone change. Like you wanna jump, if I'm sliding at 25 and I wanna slide all the way to 30, I should do a 5 and what? 5 and 2, 5 and 3, 5 and 1, what are they gonna do? So again, if I jump out 5, let's say I make a 5 and 3 move, so now I'm sliding at 30, so I'm setting down at, what would that be? Setting down at 24, right? Instead of 19, because I moved 5 boards to the left. So now I'm setting down at 24. And if I do 3 boards down here, so 5 and 3, so 3 boards means I'm going 18. So if I'm crossing at 24, crossing 18 at the arrows, that's 6 boards, so go another 12, that gets me to 6 down lane. So that gives you an idea of the math that you need to be telling yourself if you want to keep a similar break point. I bowled in a tournament recently where if you got it outside 10, at any point, it was out of bounds. So I could stand here and be like, ooh, I'm playing really deep and playing way inside, but I still got it to 9 down lane and I didn't touch the head pin. I had to get it inside 10. So I had to do the math in my head to say, okay, if I'm sliding at 35, because I want to keep it deep, how tight do I need to be? Where do we need to target in order to keep it at 10 down lane? So if I'm sliding 35, I'm going to set it down at 29, and I want to get it to, say, 11 down lane. That's 18 boards total. So that means I got to go 6 at the arrow, so that's 23. So if I go from 29 to 23, that's 6 boards. It's going to go another 12. That gets me all the way out to 11 down lane. That's the math I have to do to figure out where I need to be if I start with where I want the break point to be, as opposed to just looking at the arrows. All right, so that's wobbly. All right, so with that said, what if you don't look at the arrows? If you don't look at the arrows, that's okay. What I want you to do is draw that line. So if we come back here and I'm gonna go back to I'm standing 23, sliding 25, setting down 19, crossing 15, going down to 7, right? That's my whole idea. But I'm not gonna look at 15. Draw the line now in your mind, draw a straight line from 7 at the break point to 15 at the arrows, and it's say you look 3 feet past the arrows, look 3 feet past the arrows, and what board do you think you're crossing? If it's not 15, which it won't be 15, is it 14? Is it 13? Is it 13 and a half? and that becomes where you need to look. If you like to look farther down the lane, go ahead and look farther down the lane, but still draw that same line first, and then where does where you look intersect with that line that you're looking at. Now, let's say I want to get to the other side of that piece of tape. All right, so this piece of tape, if the right side of this piece of tape is at 15, 16, 17, so 18. 18 is the left side of this piece of tape. So I want to go 18, and I'm going to try for 10 down lane, all right? So 18 to 10, that's 8 boards. I want to go another 4, so that's going to go to 22. I'm a 6 boards from my lay down to my foot, so that gives me 28. And I got a 2 board drift, so 26. Start 26, slide 28, set down 22, cross at 18, hopefully cross at the tracer at the 10 board. And I kind of spun it a little bit, and I'm playing in the oil, so that's not the right line to play, but I kind of hit those marks, and you can see where it ended up down lane. I slid in the right spot, I threw it in the right spot, pretty close to where I was targeting down lane. So
hopefully all that math made sense. It sounds like a lot. Practice it a couple times, write it down. It's one of the easiest ways to get your mind to understand all the stuff when you're trying to learn something. Write it down. It will come naturally, I promise you.
And just to kind of break it down for you again, figure out your drift, all right? So stand in a spot, throw a ball, and look down and see where you finish. See, are you drifting left, drifting right, going straight? Figure out your drift, that's number 1. Once you've got that, figure out where is your lay down comparatively to your foot, whether you're looking at the inside of your foot or your toe or whatever, how far to the right of your foot, or if you're a left-hander, how far to the left of your foot is your lay down spot. Once you know those 2 numbers, the rest of it you can do all of the math and figure out. It's actually the simple formula of from arrows to break point, how many boards right did you go? Cut that in half, that's how many more boards you need to be, your lay down needs to be at. So again, 15 to 7 is 8 boards. Cut that in half, that's 4 boards. Add that to the arrows, that's 19, that's your lay down. And then you can add in that span from where your foot is and what your drift is, and you can figure out where you need to start in order to finish and to throw it in that spot. But be thinking about where you want the ball to cross down lane. Too many people don't focus on the down lane spot, they just focus on the arrows, and the down lane reaction is very important. Even on a house shot it's important. It's less important, but it's still important. Do that math, and as Troy said, write that stuff down, put it in a little journal or something, put it in your backpack so that you've got it. So if you need to make moves and you need to reference that to know what your moves need to be, go ahead and reference that and make those proper moves. So
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Glad you guys watched this, stuck around for the whole thing. We appreciate you guys. Hit that like,
share, and subscribe.
Yes, all that good
all
stuff.
All the beautiful stuff. Mockingbird, thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate you guys.
Leave some comments too. Let us know what you thought of this video. If you have questions, if you have modifications to this system or your own system, leave those comments. Comments are huge, likes are huge. All right, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you at the next video.
Much love, see you guys.